Talking with the experts.
They're very good at spraying seeds everywhere, seeds of conversation. But the icky part is going back for the follow-up. Why? That's where they feel they're going to get the no. And they just can't handle it. They don't want to hear that word, no thanks. However, they're really doing a disservice to themselves because, one, if you start a conversation with someone and you never go back to get their views on what you spoke about, what you're telling them is, actually, I don't really care about your opinion. Two, sometimes people are testing you. They want to see how good your service is. If you're selling a service, but you can't follow up with them, why would they buy your service? Because that's what you're going to do with their customers. You're not going to follow up on their customers.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com and I'm your host today. My guest and I will be discussing cold calling, and my guest is Odile Faludi and she's from Sydney. Yay!
Hi Rose.
Odile is a cold calling expert, but she hates the word cold calling. Yes, I think most of us as business owners do. And she said it's all about kickstarting a client conversation. When you have the right mindset and dialogue, it flows heaps differently. Welcome, Odile, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Rose.
Cold calling. Now, that's a word or a phrase that most of us as entrepreneurs absolutely hate, because it infers that, I know what cold calling is, but it just infers the fact that, we've got to talk to people that we don't know, and, they may not even know about who we are. So how do we get over that?
Okay, so your success in any business is all about what's going up in here. So 80% of your success is generated by your mindset. Now, the funny thing is, you're cold calling your friends when you call them unexpectedly. There wasn't a call scheduled. You've rung them at work. You've interrupted them. You've stopped their train of thought. It's no different to a stranger calling. It's an interruption. That's what cold calling is. It's not a scheduled phone call. So when you give value and you give something to the listener, they'll be happy you rang. The problem is we get these nuisances that call us at dinner time, that call us at really funny times, and they have no value in what they're saying. They're from call centers. They haven't been properly trained. So when you start the conversation with, I'm here to serve you and give you something of value, then it's totally different, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And yes, I like your analogy about ringing a friend or a business colleague when it's, you haven't scheduled a time or a place or whatever. So that, it's a really great analogy about cold calling. So I like that. And you're right. You get these network marketers that ring you at stupid o'clock during the day and, we are doing a survey, Keith. No, I don't want a survey thing. Your internet connection is not working. Pardon, I'm using my computer.
Yeah, and the thing is, Rose, at the moment there's a lot of scammers. And I think after post-COVID and lockdowns across Australia, people are really skeptical. So you need to build trust and credibility. So there's 3 subjects you need to know really, really well. You need to understand your product and service. You need to know your company. And you need to have the self-confidence within yourself about what you're sharing.
Self-confidence too. That's another great point, I think. Yeah, that's I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah.
I always say to people, isn't it funny? You can go to the best restaurant. You've had a fantastic meal and you can recommend that restaurant 10, 15, 20 times without any problem at all. You have no idea about the recipe, the ingredients, the level of cleanliness, nothing. All you know is you enjoyed the experience. So what does that tell you? It tells us that when you give people a really good experience, they're going to talk about it. So when you call someone, even if they don't know you, and you make it joyful, you make it a positive experience, they're going to put down their phone and guess what? They're going to tell someone. They're going to say, John rang me from down the road. He rang me to tell me about XYZ. And that was so kind of him to take the time to call me. You're going to share that conversation.
Yes, it makes, when you put it that way, it makes a heap of sense. I mean, we've got a lot of marketing gurus out there that say that, you know, cold calling, you should have at least 25 calls a day. Is that a normal figure or, you know, is that too much?
Look, it really depends by industry, Rose. So if you were a real estate agent, and I've trained thousands of real estate agents, I would say you'd probably be more towards 50 calls a day. If you're selling a high ticket item, you would do a lot of research, really understand your customer, and then you would make a call. So it really depends. What are you selling? What is your service? What is the ticket price of it?
Okay, that's a good idea. So I guess how do we, start off a conversation with a potential client, you know, if we don't know them and they don't know us?
First of all, it's research and relevance. So even as a podcaster, okay, I can use you as an example. You want to make sure that you have really an expert that comes onto your show. So I'm sure you've done your research relevance, you've checked me out, who I am. So you have to do a bit of homework before you pick up the phone. You then need to understand what that person does and how you could best serve them. You then have some questions in mind. So you need to have implication questions. What's an implication question?
Yeah,
it's
an implication question.
It's an open question that finds a pain point. Because if you can't find a problem and you've got a solution, there's no match.
No, well, that's very true. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and you wouldn't want them as a client if you couldn't solve something for them.
That's it. So you want to get them talking, but most of all, you want to get people complaining. What do they complain about? Don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, don't like my current provider, not happy with the service I'm receiving, there's never anyone who picks up the phone. That's what you want to hear.
Oh, yes, I love that one when no one picks up the phone.
So the fact that you're calling someone and you're making the effort to use the phone is already a plus.
So do you advocate cold emails or just cold telephone calls?
No, you can also send it. You can use the email as an icebreaker. So you can send an email and then you can ring up and say, look, I'm just checking if you received my email. I sent it a few days ago. They're going to say, no, I didn't receive it because they deleted it. And then you're going to say, look, the reason I sent you that email is, and you're going to get really to the point quickly.
Yes, and no good waffling, is there? I mean, if you start to waffle, they're just going to drift off. And it's really important too to use active listening as well, so that you can answer any of the questions or repeat back to them what they've said.
So it's a process, Rose. So I always use this analogy. let's think of McDonald's. McDonald's has, I think it's roughly 36,000 restaurants across, I don't know how many countries. And each restaurant turns over millions. Look at the workforce. The average worker is about 17. And then, guess what? The manager that supervises that worker is about 20 years old. Therefore, what does that tell you? It tells you that there's a very good process in place. So good that a teenager can follow it. And that business is turning millions and millions and millions of dollars over. Now, Rose, would you give your business to a teenager to manage?
No.
No, you wouldn't.
And
not many people would. And that's because maybe you need to look at your process. So the late Deming, who was the expert in process, said 85% of businesses are failing, not because of the people, but because of the process.
I've heard that saying, yes.
Okay, so cold calling is no different to anything else. It's a process. And I have an online program, or you can spend time with me, or you can go and learn from another expert, the process. And the process should be clear enough that a teenager or an 80-year-old can do it.
So could you just briefly explain what the process might be without going into too much detail?
Okay, so the first step is research and relevance. You research the target. You make sure they're a good fit for your business. You look at what projects they might be working on that might complement what you do. You might see, are they upsizing, downsizing, changing location? Is there anything that's really obvious? You'd go onto social media. You'd see that the key guy you want to call, what's his activity feed look like? Who does he comment on? Who does he follow? You get a feel of his core values. Does he follow charity, or is he a real business person? Get a sense, get a bit of warmth and familiarity. Then you would really get a clear understanding about what do you want out of the call. So you'd start with the end in mind, because you're only ever selling the next step. So if I was cold calling someone, the only thing I would want is an appointment. That could be an appointment face-to-face, via Zoom, whatever. So what do I want? Do I want to be able to send an email? Do I want an email address? Do I want an appointment? Do I want a coffee catch-up? Do I want to send a report? Do I want to give something for free? What's the purpose of the call? And then I would have a call to action. So I'm not going to put down that phone until I've got that next action, whatever that purpose was of that call. So that's in a really broad sense. But we could break it up probably into 10 steps. But there's 3 in a broad sense. So you research, the reason for the call, and the call to action.
Yeah, we've always got to remember that call to action. And I know a lot of business owners, and I'm guilty of that time and time again. I give my talk, do my presentation, whatever it is, and I forget the call to action. And I think, and it's too late after you've walked off the stage or shut the computer down or whatever, that, I forgot to mention that I've got a course coming up, or I've got an ebook or something. And you think, next time. And then next time comes and, you've only half mentioned it, but you haven't really given any value about or explanation about what this thing is that you're wanting them to do. So, yes.
So there's one more step after that. So you start a conversation. You then need to follow up. And this is where most people fall down. They're very good at spraying seeds everywhere, seeds of conversation. But the icky part is going back for the follow-up. Why? That's where they feel they're going to get the no. And they just can't handle it. They don't want to hear that word, no thanks. However, they're really doing a disservice to themselves because, one, if you start a conversation with someone and you never go back to get their views on what you spoke about, what you're telling them is, actually, I don't really care about your opinion. Two, sometimes people are testing you. They want to see how good your service is. If you're selling a service, but you can't follow up with them, why would they buy your service? Because that's what you're going to do with their customers. You're not going to follow up on their customers. So I'm not going to give you my business. The bottom line is that people want to work with someone who really wants to work with them, really wants to work with them. And how do you show that? By saying repeatedly, I love what you do. I want to work with you. That's a big compliment.
It is. It is. I love hearing that. I think it's wonderful. So yeah, but they're really good ideas about cold calling, because I've never heard it explained in quite that way, and it doesn't make it sound as horrible as the name suggests that it is. So thank you so much for sharing all those little nuggets with me, because they were so good, and I hope the audience, listeners and viewers, got something out of that as well, because it's really quite interesting. It's an interesting concept on how to get over the fact that cold calling is not as bad as you think it is.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so,
right.
Odile, have you written a book about this? Because I think it would be a bestseller, to be honest.
So I have an online program, and it really goes through the process. So if McDonald's can teach teenagers, I can certainly teach professionals. And it's 15 years that I've been in the field doing this, building up six-figure businesses and more. And it's an online program that I'm really proud of, and it's currently $400 off. So if you jump on my website, which is my name, odilefaludi.com.au, you can download that program for a limited time for $199. It will only take you about 90 minutes to do the whole program. I'm throwing in an hour consult for free once you've done it. So I want you to do it and come back, jump on Zoom with me, and I will help you with your particular area that you struggle with. It might be the implication questions. It might be the scripting, all sorts of things.
Absolutely wonderful deal. Thank you, Odile. That's wonderful deal that you're almost gifting to people.
Yeah, it is. It is a gift. It'll keep giving. And I had a woman do it in Perth, and she got a deal for $100,000, and it was off the back of doing the program. And she said, I would have never, ever made that call, but you gave me the courage. Well
done to you. And
yeah.
Well done to her.
Well done to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific news. So what have you got in the pipeline after, for next year, for 2022?
Well, look, I have multiple businesses. I also have a skincare business, anti-aging, and at 59, I'm building that. I'm very passionate about helping people with their skin, and I've got 100 distributors that I train and on board, and I'm constantly looking for people who want to work from home. So if anybody's out there that's looking for 5 to 10 hours a week from home, call me, and I'd love to onboard you and train you and work for yourself. And more training. I'd like, now that we're out of lockdown, to get back to keynote speaking. So hopefully someone will get me on a stage and I can really strut my stuff.
Yeah, a lot of keynotes are trying to get back on the talking circuit. So There's a few of you. I think they'll be all waiting in line somehow. There'll be a bit of a shuffle going on.
Yes, Rose.
Yeah. So what is do you have any like words of wisdom, some tactics, some little nugget of information that you could share with our audience, please?
Sure. Look, I think the most important thing is another part of that follow-up, which I like to talk about, is the close, because a lot of people, it's once again mindset. So let's look at the word close, C-L-O-S-E. It has the word lose in it, L-O-S-E. So sometimes when you go in with that agenda, I'm going to close, you actually lose the person because they feel that pressure coming from you. Oh, must be end of month. She's got to close me. I think it's a bit like cold calling. Words are very impactful on our actions and our mind. So just the words cold calling made you shiver. Close does the same thing. I have to close that person today. My boss told me if I don't make quota, this is going to happen. That already puts too much pressure on you. So what I want people to feel and think is about the word open. When you actually get someone who says, yes, I want to work with you, or yes, I want to buy your product, isn't that the start of a relationship, not the end? Close suggests it's finished. It's the end. If you're getting a new customer, it's the beginning. So I would suggest change your mindset to open. I'm going to open a new relationship today. I'm going to call that person. We're going to open that account and we're going to start this relationship.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Love it. I'm going to put that on my wall now.
Yeah, no more of that closed business.
No, you're just so full of great ideas. Love it. Odile, thank you so much for sharing with us today about cold calling and opening up new prospects and perspectives of our world and our client relationships. It's been a pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rose, for having me. God bless. Get on my website, download that program. It comes with a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. It will build your business.
Terrific stuff. So go to odilefaludi.com.au.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Rose. All the best. Bye.
Talking with the experts.